Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about some amazing developments in Bitcoin and crypto, specifically about the enormous war chest that is being built up for the incoming 2024 elections to elect crypto-friendly candidates. And we're also going to be talking about some interesting proposals by the government to have a Bitcoin mining registry or a survey taken to try and figure out what the power consumption of Bitcoin miners. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about that and more in today's video. But before we get to that, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share this video. We're actually above 300 subscribers for the first time in the channel history. And I have to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed, and thank you to everybody who's left comments below on the video. I definitely greatly appreciate your support, and I hope to bring you more content in the future. So Bitcoin has been up about 8% in the last 7 days, about 1% or so in the last 24 hours. And we've seen kind of a dramatic reversal in the Bitcoin price over the last 24 hours. Now we can see here on the Bitcoin chart TA that it actually went all the way down to below 42,000 for a very brief period of time, and then it shot back up to where it is right now at about 43K. If we zoom in on that, we can actually see what this looks like on the hourly chart, and we can see a very nice bounce off of this level. So this level right here, this 42K level, that's going to be very important support. If Bitcoin is to challenge 43, 44, 45 and push higher, it first has to consolidate in this level right here and not go below 42K. That absolutely has to happen in order for Bitcoin to push higher. Now, the reason why we saw Bitcoin take a big dump over the past couple of days is we actually had the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, with Jerome Powell saying that they're just going to keep rates basically at where they were, which is kind of the expectation at this point. So it's at 5.25 to 5.50%. Now, this was expected, as I said. However, the problem is that the market didn't seem to like that, neither the crypto markets nor the traditional markets, and Bitcoin kind of sold off as a result. You can see here Wednesday when they announced that decision, it was at about 43,700, and then it came all the way down to that support level at 42K. Now, what's happened over the past couple of hours is we've seen a very noticeable pump on the NASDAQ. We go to the NASDAQ here. We can actually see that the NASDAQ had a very nice day today, 1.3% up. And we can see that kind of coincide with Bitcoin's own increase. And so Bitcoin is following on the strength of the market. It's following the NASDAQ much higher. And that's kind of where we find ourselves right now at about 43K. Now, if we take a look at our liquidation heat map, what that looks like is you can see there is a large level of liquidity, of short liquidity here at about 44K. Now, it's about $100 million worth of shorts. Shorts have been piling onto this region for some time now, but that's the single largest band. If you take a look at multiple bands around this region, you can see that there's probably several $100 million worth of short liquidity in this region. So if Bitcoin can kind of go above that 44K region, we can actually liquidate these shorts and push much higher. So this is something to watch out for. Now, on the other side, you also have a pretty large amount of your long liquidity down here at about 41,700. So if we go below 41,700, we can see a cascade effect take us all the way down to 40K. So you can see Bitcoin is kind of trapped between these two massive liquidity levels as the longs and the shorts fight over the future of the Bitcoin price. So just know that, again, if we get above those regions, we're going to see large liquidations. If we get below these regions, we're going to see some pretty massive long liquidations as well. So right now where Bitcoin is right in the middle of two opposing forces, and we could see some fairly radical price action in the near term, though I do think as long as we hold this 42K level, that's much more likely to be moving higher in the near term. Now, the U.S. government has decided that they're going to be releasing a survey of crypto miners, and specifically with crypto miners and Bitcoin miners. The Department of Energy is setting around the survey and trying to figure out, well, how much energy does the Bitcoin and crypto miners actually use? And the reason why this is so important is because there are a lot of detractors out there to Bitcoin and crypto mining that think that it's just a waste of power, and there's a significant amount of resource energy generation spent on Bitcoin itself. But there's also proponents in the crypto space like myself who look at not only just the resource generation, but where it's coming from. So we talk about renewable energy, and renewable energy powering many of these mining rigs. And if the government can actually figure out what the levels are of energy generation, then that can definitely give us some ammunition to fight against the people who are not proponents of Bitcoin and crypto. And so that we can actually get an idea of how much energy usage it actually uses in the U.S. and how much of that is renewables. Now, Cambridge, the University of Cambridge has actually had a very nice, if you guys go check this out, I'll leave the link in the description, has actually had this pretty nice little website set up where you can actually go ahead and look at this. It puts things like your Bitcoin greenhouse gas emissions and energy consumption. Now, if you go down to the energy related estimates, it can give you an idea or an estimate of what percentage of Bitcoin generation is actually done by renewable energy. So we can see here that if you add up all these little bands here, it's at about 25% or so in 2022. They so far do not have the consumption of energy in 2023. Hopefully, they'll put this in the actual page. But if this is accurate, 25% renewable energy, that is very nice. And I think that over time, especially as rigs become more and more efficient and the renewable energy gets cheaper and cheaper, I think we're going to see this increase. And that would take out one of the biggest criticisms when it comes to Bitcoin or when it comes to crypto mining, that it is resource and energy intensive. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is that war chest, that $85 million war chest that has been building up to the 2024 elections. So the crypto industry has decided to fight back against some of the politicians who, again, have decided that they want to be on the opposite end of the Bitcoin and crypto discussions, saying things like it's just a waste of time, it's magical internet money, and the comparing it to pet rocks and stuff like Jamie Dimon does. But now you're starting to see a concentrated effort at getting money into political action committees that will be trying to elect crypto-friendly candidates. So you have the U.S.'s largest centralized crypto exchange, which Coinbase is chipping in a third of the total, or about a little over $24 million to this super PAC, this Fair Shake super PAC, in order to get these crypto-friendly candidates elected. And now for things to actually change in the U.S. and around the world, you have to have crypto-friendly candidates elected, and then they have to actually put forth reasonable legislation in order to allow for the widespread adoption of Bitcoin and its crypto, and not have it seen as something that's just a total waste of time and money and only used for money laundering and things like that, which is the usual criticisms that we see. And this points towards a very bright future. If we can actually get these crypto candidates elected, then you can see important legislation being drafted and then hopefully ratified at some point in the future. And you start to see increased adoption through things like banks actually using Bitcoin as a kind of digital gold and store of value. That is where we're headed with the eventual future for Bitcoin adoption. And this kind of money put towards the super PACs is going to hopefully help and push us more towards that kind of future. Now, if you guys are curious about the current members of Congress who support Bitcoin and blockchain, they have a whole website devoted to it. It's called the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. They go through and they show their members and other crypto-friendly candidates as well. So this is kind of a reminder of all the people that are currently elected that support Bitcoin and support crypto in Congress, and they will be leading the charge on any sort of crypto-friendly legislation. All right, now the next thing I want to talk about is what's been going on with the Bitcoin Exchange Reserve. So, Bitcoin Exchange Reserve, the number of Bitcoin in the exchanges has been dropping. Now, we have the 1 monthly here on CryptoQuant, and it gives us an idea that it kind of the number of Bitcoin in the exchanges had peaked at about January 24th. And then over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a huge loss in the number of available Bitcoin on exchanges. Okay, so this is a reversal of what we've seen in the past 3 or 4 weeks, where people were rushing to sell their Bitcoin and Bitcoin was flooding the exchanges. Now you're starting to actually see Bitcoin get pulled off the exchanges. And if we zoom out here to the 1 year, you can see that it's overall the trend has been lower. But we still haven't hit the levels that we saw in late December just yet. We haven't hit that level of scarcity for Bitcoin, but I have no doubt that as time passes that we're going to hit that level again, and Bitcoin is going to continue to be scarce on the exchanges. Now, this sets up a very interesting demand shock. If we do wind up seeing increased demand for Bitcoin, such as through the Bitcoin spot ETFs, we can see that push the price much higher when they actually have to go to these exchanges and buy that Bitcoin. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the Bitcoin average transaction fees. This had been honestly getting kind of out of control, but this is usually what happens when Bitcoin tends to appreciate in price. Now, what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, over the past, I'd say a couple of months, in fact, the 3 months, we had a high here at about the 17th of December at about $37 per transaction. Now we're actually starting to see it come down, and we're at a level of about $4, about $5 or so of the Bitcoin transaction fees. So it's actually started to come down a little bit, even though the Bitcoin prices remain elevated. Now, I think this is definitely a good thing. People want to transact on the blockchain. They don't want to spend $40 for a transaction, but it just kind of goes to show you that things have actually kind of returned back more towards normal, I think, and the excessive fees that we've seen over the past couple of months is starting to finally come back down again. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about some of the things we've talked about, such as electing some Bitcoin and blockchain friendly candidates, and if you think it's a good idea or not. The government wants to collect data on crypto miners. Leave a comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.